In the chaos of the rescues, Serena Johnson found herself living a nightmare.
We went to, it was the Louis Armstrong Airport. And when you walked into the airport, you saw all beds, like it smelled like a hospital. Some people were passing there.
Desperation and despair were already hard to bear. But on top of that, many evacuees, like Serena, were separated from loved ones. Hurricane Katrina caused the largest and most abrupt displacement in U.S. history.
People lost businesses, people lost homes that they worked hard on.
1 million people in the Gulf Coast were uprooted, scattered across all 50 states. Unsure of how to find her father, Serena and her mother had no option but to evacuate without him. Soon they were airlifted from New Orleans with no idea where they were going, where her father was, or if he was even alive.
I remember like looking to my mom and like with tears in my eyes, and was like, I lost everything.
Including the city she called home. And while the devastated New Orleans was drowning in unmerciful floodwaters, just 57 miles away on the Mississippi coast, Katrina had also left a trail of unimaginable destruction. More than 60,000 homes were destroyed back on August 29th, when the eye of the hurricane made landfall directly over Waveland, Mississippi. There, deadly storm surges nearly 30 feet high exceeded everyone's worst-case predictions.
I can't believe that this is happening right now!
Leaving an entire community trapped. That's when Howard O. Gwynn sprang into action.
Highway 90, there's a boat full of people.
This video shows Howard fighting the storm. As roads turned into raging rivers and cars were completely underwater, he pulled aboard anyone needing his help.
We're driving the boat down the highway. I mean, I never expected that in 100 years. Wind was screaming like you ain't never heard it before. Rain was coming down. It was like needles hitting us. We started hearing people hollering, so we started picking up people. They were all strangers.
A true lifeboat with 15 desperate people crammed into a vessel meant to hold only 6.
I had to do something. I wasn't going to leave them there. I mean, if people was hollering for help, you go help them. And I was scared, but I wasn't going to let everybody in that boat know I was scared because I'd have had a panic attack.
Soon he heard frantic screams coming from this house, which was almost totally submerged.
We couldn't get a door open to get out.
Betty Gillen, 76 at the time, was trapped inside.
I jumped overboard and I opened up the door and I put her and her son and his girlfriend in the boat.
It was very scary.
Howard navigated the boat through 2 miles of treacherous water, finally reaching safety on a motel balcony just above the water level.
Saved my life. He was like a little cloud come down from heaven just to see me. I love you, Howard.
I love you too.
Strangers before Katrina, now lifelong friends.
I mean, they called me a hero, but everybody was a hero that made it out of that storm.
For one woman we met in nearby Pass Christian, my hometown, there was no hero to rescue her. She's been silent about her story until now.
I was incredulous. I just couldn't imagine. We thought we were safe.
Diane and Tony Brugger did not evacuate from Harbor Oaks, the historic inn they had lovingly restored. They believed its 33-foot elevation was well above the predicted 25-foot storm surge.
It was supposed to be going towards New Orleans.
The track of the storm has shifted to the east.
Capable of producing a tornado 7 miles southeast of Pass Christian.
The Bruggers took refuge on the top floor of their inn.
We saw the the water coming, the cars and floating and everything. You know, the water was almost up the scenic drive, and it was like, oh, this is serious.
News stations around the world covered the storm, reaching out to eyewitnesses who still had phone service. At daybreak, a Canadian news anchor spoke to Tony Brugger.
We got a couple of windows that we weren't able to get to from the outside, and they were already broken, so we're going to try and bore them from the inside.
He had no idea what was coming. 1 block away, police captured video of an alarming sight.
That is Sergeant Michael Lally patrol car.
And as the waters continued to rise, tornadoes touched down in Mississippi, one of which hit the Bruggers full on.
We were sitting in the bed, and the dogs were just going crazy. And the house, you'd feel it sort of, you know, like a lift up like a boat, and then settle back, and lift up like a boat. And we just looked at each other, and I saw a weird acceptance in his eyes that really unnerved me, that where he almost was acknowledging that this was it. And I didn't understand, I understood it, but I didn't accept it. And, but we said nothing. We just held hands and just looked at each other. And then when the house went up, and it didn't quite go right back down the way it was supposed to, and we all got up, and then that's when the walls fell away, when the ceiling came down. And then it just covered them.
The house literally just started breaking apart.
It just sort of flattened out into like just this field of debris. Tony was, when the part of the ceiling came down, it caught his head and just took him right under.
Somehow, Diane survived.
The only thing I remember is the trees, there were 2 together, and I had a foot in one and a foot in the other tree. It was all just hang on.
She clung to the tree limbs for 6 hours until the violent storm subsided and she was rescued. Having lost the love of her life, her home, and her community, how could she possibly find the strength to carry on? A little later, how Diane discovers that determination, the amazing reinvention of a life. Also, a saint comes marching in.
I needed somebody to believe in me just as much as New Orleans needed someone to believe in them.
How Drew Brees and football win back the joy.